Greetings, Go players! Welcome to Sente, YouTube channel dedicated specifically to beginner and intermediate players to help them get better at the game. Alright, so I was looking back at my videos, and the one that by far received the most views, besides the invasions video, was my top 5 beginner mistakes video. That got me thinking. People love top 5 videos. I don't know why, but taking something you like and then ranking top 5 for some reason gets people really excited. So, let's do another top 5. This time, a lot more fun one. Because instead of focusing on mistakes that beginners made, we're going to focus on corner invasions. Yes, corner invasions, the bane of every beginner's existence. I'm going to cover my top 5 favorite corner invasions that have either been played against me or I've seen in a book. I'll probably include maybe like a variation or two, but really the main idea is like I want to just plant the seeds of these invasions into you guys' minds. So you can think about them during your own games and then just sort of play around with what works and what doesn't. After all, the beauty of Go is creation, not memorizing stuff. So on that note, let's get started. First on our list of awesome invasions is one of the simplest, the classic 3-3 invasion. So this is the invasion that everybody learns once they first starting to play the game, and then they start getting super power hungry and then just wanting to throw the 3-3 in every corner that they can find. They then figure out that stealing away 10 points of territory isn't really worth all the influence that they're giving to their opponent if they do it at the wrong times. However, a well-placed 3-3 invasion can steal a lot of territory with relatively few negative consequences for the invader. Alright, so let's run through a quick example of this 3-3 in case anybody isn't sure what I'm talking about. Here, Black has 2 invasion opportunities. Now let's say that, we're going to forget about what really the best move on the board is here, and then let's just say Black wanted to do this 3-3 invasion. He's got these 2 spots, right? The standard sequence for the 3-3 invasion starts here. And White picks a side to cushion Black down in, and Black follows. White Hane at the head of 2 stones, Black follows. Now, White has to be very careful here about potentially getting cut, because when you're following Black down, a lot of people want to try to crush him into the edge of the board really quickly, but when you do that, you leave a fair amount of cut points, and not only will Black live, but you might be able to get the tables turned on you. So the best way to play is just to extend, and instead of Haneing, extend one more time. Because once again, we want to leave as few cut points as possible. Now Black's going to abandon that idea, come back down to this side. White blocks him, Black fills in his weakness, and White fills in his weakness. This sequence gives Black about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 to 12 points of territory, as well as Sente, because White has to fix here at 13. Which isn't bad. Definitely not bad. However, once you start getting into the more intermediate to advanced range, if somebody does this to you, you get extremely happy. And why do you get extremely happy? Because those points, usually this invasion is ill-timed. And if it's not timed in the right way, they're getting 15 points, but White is getting an unbelievable amount of strength on the outside of the board, which can really easily turn into way more than 15 points of territory. Just look what happened here. In this situation, sure, Black looks pretty cool that he pulled off a successful invasion, but look what White got out of the deal. White has this really nice stone placed right up against this huge wall. It's going to be really tough for Black to try to capitalize and reduce this area, and if he does, White's going to probably profit a lot from it. And what I love about the 3-3 is that it teaches you the fundamentals of invasions when influence is concerned. And I'm going to demonstrate that to you right now. The rule that I got from playing with a Don player in the tournament last weekend was if your invasion makes influence for your opponent, it's alright as long as that influence is facing your strength. In other words, if you can get your opponent to build a wall that's facing something that's already occupied by your stones, that is awesome. Because the strength of influence comes from being able to attack any group that tries to approach it, any lone stone that approaches it. If influence is already faced towards a strong position of the opponent, you can't do a lot with it. And so that is what really times an invasion as like good or bad. Because most invasions usually result in influence for the other person. But if you can make that influence useless by picking an invasion spot that you have occupied already, it's all good. Let me explain with another demonstration of the 3-3. So now what if, instead of black invading here, on this upper left-hand corner, he invaded the upper right-hand corner? So let's examine that. Let's say he went here instead. And white follows, of course. And we go through the whole normal sequence again. And here. This is a lot less scary for black. Because now, black stole stuff away from what was white's corner. But look at this black stone here. And look at these black stones here. This is not a valuable place to make territory for white, and not a valuable place to really build influence, and especially since black has Sente. So the bottom line is that if you want to invade such that your opponent gets influence out of the deal, try to make it so that his influence can be used as little as possible. If he's building influence towards a place where you've already got strength and you've already got help, that was a successful invasion. Number 4 on our list is a little one I call the ping-pong. Reason is because it starts from a very spread out group of white stones and manages to make a coolio little base and split up the group by jumping from one side of their stones to the other. This is how the main sequence goes. So this is the prime invasion, one of the prime invasion spots for black. White stones are very separated, and black has strength on this side. Stands to reason that white, one stone here, pretty easily can get attacked. So let's say white tries to counterattack by leaning up against black's lone stone, which is a reasonable response. Now black can make a 2-space extension that-a-way, that-a-way, and actually make contact with the opponent's stone. Now this might seem a little weird because you're playing right up against that person's stone. However, we all know that stones that are connected make each other stronger. So if you are trying to invade somewhere, generally attaching to your opponent's stones will make your group benefit because you need strength, and so attaching to a stone will get both sides strong. So the next best response for white, at least one of his responses, is to protect his territory and start to close black off from the center. This move helps to do both of those things. Next response for black is to Hane under, creating a base for himself and threatening to take away white's corner. White, of course, can't allow that. And now black jumps back out into the center. This move makes Sabaki, which is playing lightly to get eye space. He already has the beginnings of a base, so whatever white decides to try to attack, he can turn that into strength for a base. So if white wanted to, say, take the black stone, then black does this. You can do that. Black can play here and threaten to come under, which white should stop. And now black can actually just start putting pressure on this white group. Like that. And so now white has to try to figure out what to do about this thing. While black can go ahead, jump towards the center, make some life, and split white up into 2 groups. And this resulted from a ping-pong effect from one side of white stones to the other. Really cool idea. If you've got strength on the other side of a very separated enemy stone, try using this and see what you can play around with. See if this works. Number 3, the clingy friend. So you guys have all had that one friend who maybe in high school, maybe in your life, something like that, seemed like a cool person, so you let him into your life, or her, and then they just sort of like glommed onto you and then made themselves a permanent presence in your life that you like couldn't escape from. This invasion sort of mimics that, where we see black knock on white's door, ask to come in. White sort of doesn't act super aggressively because white really can't, he's not in any position to, and then black just makes a nice little home in white's life forever. It's pretty awesome. So the invasion goes like this. Black first knocks on white's door. Hey white, can I come in? White's like no, I mean, you can, I'm not gonna attack you, but like, this is my place, so no. And black goes, oh, that's so great, thanks so much for letting me in. Oh, you're so great. We're gonna have so much fun, we're gonna have sleepovers, we're gonna do all this awesome stuff. And White's like, dude, like, you can't be that much into my space. Like, I need my personal space. Black's like, oh, it's fine, yeah, you can take your personal space, but I just gotta go somewhere. And White's like, dude. And essentially, Black ends up living all up in White's space forever. Now to make this, to explain this Joseki a little more technically, so White first, or Black, I'm sorry, first does the standard shoulder hit onto White's 2-space extension group. We know that we can do this, and we know that usually when White responds, in another, the normal way of doing this would be playing here, here, and then White fills in, and then Black usually either fixes something, one side or the other. And this is usually done to sort of get center control and center influence. Black has other ideas. So we're going to see Black jump right in. Just whoo, right into White's thing. And of course, White can't let Black connect up with himself. That would be horrifying. So White's essentially forced to do this. Black's like, I can still kind of do that if you don't stop me. It's like, okay, fine. Okay, you're done. You're not connecting up to that stupid stone. Black's like, okay, that's fine. I'll just crawl along here. White's like, stop, like, get out. And this sort of mimics the 3-3 invasion that we saw, how the Hane, and then the steady crawl along the second line. And then with this, Black completes his shape and makes a living group inside of White's stuff. And now once again, we see White get a crud ton of influence here. However, if you play it smart and you play it in such a way where you're in a position to make that influence useless, this is a great idea. Definitely play around with this idea, because White essentially can't let Black connect to that other stone. So honestly, life is almost guaranteed. But play around with some variations on your own. See what you can do in your games. Invasion number 2, the Troll. So there are tons of awesome invasions that can come from this attachment to a 3-4 stone. I'm just going to go through one of them, which is probably the simplest. And it's really funny. Honestly, it's really funny. So this move is something you'll probably start seeing around, like, I don't know, I want to say like 7Q maybe? 7-6Q? Maybe 8. And it's a really, really interesting move. It can lead to a lot of really interesting stuff. But usually it's very hard for White not to get a presence in Black's area if this move is a start. Because if he plays this move, he knows what he's doing. This isn't just a bad move, you know? So definitely don't play this without a plan. But if you know the plans, you can make some good use out of it. I'm just going to show you guys the simplest variation. So we see White attach, and Black is going to try to keep White from getting into his side where his other stones are. White can just Hane. Black stops him from making any more progress on the side. White simply descends down. Now Black completely seals White off from getting more area up. And with this move, White's basically alive. It's a very short sequence, it's a very simple sequence, and White steals 5 or 6 points. It's like a little reduction. This is definitely the smallest reduction that we've seen. It does make Black very strong on the outside. That combined with the fact that it doesn't give White Sente at the end, Black doesn't need to do anything more here and he can play somewhere else, means that you have to time this very well. Or it can very easily backfire. This might be a cool thing to do with the very late game when like almost everything's tied up and you just need those extra 10 points to win. Something like that. However, these variations can lead to White needing help from the surrounding area depending on what Black does. So if you're going to play this, make sure you read up on like what your plans are depending on where Black goes. But it's a really cool idea, and it's really just spitting in the face of the area of your opponent. Just like, you don't have that. LOL, I'm just going to play right there. That's why I call it the Troll. It's a very trolly kind of invasion. And the number one invasion that I've seen so far that's just completely off the wall, I call the Caesar. So unlike the Troll, that was a blatant disregard of anything that was your opponent's, or the clingy friend who started out with a little approach and then decided to dive right in. This is more like a very methodical, organized march into your opponent's territory and a subsequent conquest. This was played against me by a Dawn player in a teaching game, and absolutely loved it. I saw this, I'm like, dude, I'm not even mad about that. That was awesome. So it starts, and preferably this is done if white has a stone or some strength on both sides of the 3-4 enclosure. Okay. White plays here. Now what I did, which led to this invasion, was play here. At the time, I didn't want any more of my territory being taken away, and I thought I could run white out and maybe get some strength. So I decided to just close off his position to make a base, force him to run. That was my plan. He then responds with this, and I'm just like, oh man, I'm gonna die, aren't I? Those are my exact thoughts, because I knew that I didn't know what could happen from this, but I knew that it wasn't good. So I figured, okay, I mean, I guess we'll just try to keep him disconnected, right? So I come out over top, and he comes down, which is an amazingly elegant move, because if I decide to do this, right, this is threatening to completely link up with this first stone that he played, right? Black can't really do this, because that's an Atari, right? And then black can just play here, and there's really nothing that black can do. So that was a really strong move, and I saw that he could link up, so I couldn't let him do that, so I had to descend down. Now he does this and threatens to link up with this stone. So these two stones are working together and creating this really organized piece of death. I also realized that if I follow him down, I'm leaving myself open to a bunch of cut points. So I tried to defend against those cut points. He threatened to cut me still, so I had to defend. And now he just finished up and made life here. So this is a living shape in the corner. Can't kill that. And that was an awesome invasion. And he was winning before, but this was just such a cool use of Aji from the two approaching stones on either side, that I just had to golf clap him. Like, that was just so cool. And that is definitely why it's my favorite. It's a very double-edged sort of, you don't really see the use of those two side stones until the invasion happens, and you're like, well, now he's threatening everything. I can't do anything. So this was a very good chunk of territory that was ripped away from a 3-4 enclosure. So those are the top 5 corner invasions that I have seen and that I have read about. If you guys have any more awesome corner invasions, any awesome variations, definitely post them in the comments below. I would love to hear some other nasty tricks and chaos-filled moves that can happen on the Go board. See if you can incorporate these into some of your games, but remember, invade smart. Invasions can backfire really easily, and reductions are usually much safer. But a good invasion can make all the difference. And with that, I will leave you, and have a great week, have some good games, and I will see you on the grid.